All right, I am very lucky to introduce Cory Morgan. That sort of doesn't need any introduction. He writes for the Western Standard. He has written a book, the Updated Sovereigntist Handbook, and you need to read it. It's very timely, it's very critical. And I'm trying to be like Cory when I grew up. A few years ago, I wrote an opinion piece for the Western Standard, and they didn't shred it, which I thought might happen. They actually printed it, and they even made it into a commercial. So come see me later, and I'll show you where you can see that on YouTube. But anyways, let's give Cory Morgan a great round of applause, please. Welcome him. Thanks, man.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you all. This is brilliant. This is the kind of tradition I'm looking forward to.
We all love Cory.
And yes, I want to thank the volunteers, Max, Bonnie, Shane, Chris, so many other people put so much in. Look at the size of the crowd here. This is magnificent. It's just brilliant to see this sea of blue in front of me like this. So happy Albertans Day, everybody. And I also want to say happy Canada Day, and I mean it, and I'm sincere about it, and I'll explain. Because I don't have a problem with Canada. I don't have a problem with Canadians. I don't have a problem with the flag. I have a problem with a broken, outdated system that's been screwing Alberta for 127 years. But I want to be positive. We're not just moving away from the old system, we're moving into a better, new country. We want to be positive. We want to promote to people that we understand what we're trying to leave in this system. But to win people over, to bring them in when the referendum comes, we have to tell people what we're moving towards. What are we offering that's better? Why are we better? And we're seeing a lot of that today. I'm seeing it today. As this unusual campaign has unfolded, as it's began, the positivity from our side, the good times, the meetings, the Let's Talk Alberta events I've been to, the rallies I've been to, here today, everybody's smiling, everybody's positive, everybody's upbeat and looking forward to making something better. We're enjoying each other. And what are we seeing from the Federalists? Anger, embitterness, cancellation, attempts to bring down our messaging. That lets me know why and how we're on the side of right. Because we're trying to promote something better. They're trying to shut us down. I've been dealing with that. Some of you guys might have seen the saga. Down in Tabor, I put up a simple billboard. It said, what did it say? Send Ottawa a message, choose Alberta, and an Alberta flag. And that was so controversial, that Alberta flag upset so many people, they complained that the town administration demanded that the billboard owner remove it. So in response, they now have 3 billboards in Tabor. We had a rally there last Sunday with Mr. and Mrs. Alberta and a bunch of people driving down a cruise. Hundreds of people came out, signs went out. It's one of the bluest towns in Alberta now. This is how we have to do it. They can only cancel us if we let them. People have been saying, so I started this TPA in this moment of insanity. I'm not sure what I did there, but I got to write it out now. And I was talking to somebody just a few moments ago, said the neighbor had one of my signs out early. And it was on the lawn, and he drove home from work, and it was gone. He asked the neighbor, he said, yeah, somebody stole it in the night. Well, the response to that isn't to give up. It's to put 2 signs on the lawn and move them a little farther back. Put a camera up there. Knock on your neighbor's doors and make sure there's 5 signs on the block. Make these guys work for it. But if we let them do, because I've had people say that, I had my sign stolen, I don't want to put another one back out. I understand the frustration. I understand with some of the anger. We've saw people petitioning who had cigarette butts burned in their face, coffee thrown at them. John got swerved at by a truck on a road because he had an Alberta flag up. This is terrible. And I understand why it makes some people nervous. But we can't let them do that. They're ostracizing us. They are suppressing the discussion. So, for those not familiar, the third-party advertising group I started, it's called Pathway to Independence. It's just focused on signs. That's our thing. We got lawn signs, we got 4x8s, we've got some billboards we did. And some people have said, well, what's the point? Signs don't vote. And that's absolutely true. Signs don't change a lot of votes either, even though people focus a little too much on them during campaigns sometimes. They see some of the fights. His sign was 5 feet too close to the polling station. Call the electoral officer. How many people driving to vote changed their mind because the sign was 5 feet too close to the polling station? We waste so much energy on those. But at the same time, the signs are important, and I'll explain. Because the people trying to fight against us want to keep the discussion suppressed. They're afraid. And what the signs do is open discussion. They tell people, as another person came up to talk to me about, might add as a theme of things, we're not alone. If we're looking at even some of the lowest polling, we got 30% of Albertans are considering this. They're looking at this. They're thinking about it. More are thinking about it. But they're afraid to talk about it. When they realize that if 1 in 3 yards has this kind of sign on it, that this is not a minor thing. You're far from alone. And you can start to have those discussions. And having those discussions, people tend to lead to the same conclusion that most of us here are already at, that Canada's broken, that we need to pursue independence. That's the only way out now. There's no fixing this. There's no repairing it. I mean, Bruce Party, as always, says it excellently. You can't fix this system. It's rotten from the inside. And I know the system gets turned against us. We're fighting against corrupted courts, liberal-appointed judges, self-serving politicians. We've got an establishment, legacy media, that's funded by your tax dollars that are going to oppose you no matter what. But we've got every way to bypass them. We have social media. We have roots around it. Who needs the damn CBC anymore anyways? How many times can you watch the Beachcombers reruns? And that's the last time they had something good. But we can go through YouTube. We can go through X. We have all sorts of things, Rumble. But most importantly, and how this movement is going to win is through us having one-on-one conversations with our fellow Albertans. Those who have heard me speak before, this is often a theme I have, and it's true. This is a personal campaign. People have a lot of emotion attached to it. They have a lot of sentiment attached to it. That's part of why some people get as angry as they do when they oppose what we're looking to change. And while we can clinically say, well, look at the system, look at the policies, look at the dollars, it only makes sense for us to do what we're doing. Yes, we can make that case, and we certainly do. But that won't move a person with emotional attachment. And we can't dismiss that attachment because that attachment will still move their pencil or pen to a vote for yes for the staying in Canada on that question 10 just as much as any other rationale will. So we have to approach them on their level. And how does somebody move you away from something that you feel personally? It's not going to be some guy like me on TV or a brochure that comes in the mail or a commercial you saw online. It's through conversations with people you know and trust. That's how those things shift. That's how they move. Respectful conversations, one-on-one conversations. Ask people. That's something counterintuitive to a blowhard like me. I love my mouth being open much more than my ears, but I don't learn anything when my mouth's open. And you know what? A lot of people are really on the edge, but they don't feel like they can talk either. So even if they're not supportive of independence, but they sound like they're questioning, well, what are your concerns? Ask them. Be genuine. Talk to them. And guess what? Just about everybody does have concerns. And then you can extend that conversation. Because as I said, all roads eventually lead to independence because you hit that brick wall. Well, this is your concern. Well, how are you going to change that in Canada? You won't. Well, what about this over here? I'm worried about justice. Well, that's not changing. Equalization? Sorry. Constitutional reform? Come on. I mean, I didn't even have, what's that? Elbows up. Yeah. God, that was bizarre. Hey, Fabio, look at the Federalist side purring along in his motorhome. Gives me the willies, that dude. But we can't underestimate them. I'm not too worried about Lukasik. I mean, Lukasik's just a guy who needed a job, who's trying to find relevance, and he's found a corner to make some noise. The ones we got to worry about are people like Jason Kenney. And look, I've got a lot of respect for Jason Kenney, but I'm thinking of the Jason Kenney of the 90s, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation Jason Kenney, the Reform Party Jason Kenney. Unfortunately, we went and sent him to Ottawa to sit under the dome and get auto-washed for decades, and he came back polluted. And now we got the Kenney we have today. We got to quit sending good Albertans over there. But guys like him show how we have to approach this debate for independence. If you look at the debate, if you had the chance to watch Keith Wilson and him debate, a lot of people said all Kenny did was fearmonger. All he did was talk about sentimental things, and it's true. But think about that, because Kenny is a smart guy. He's a skilled communicator. He's an experienced politician. So why did he do that? Because he's smart enough to fight on facts too, because he knows what works. He knows that pulling the heartstrings and making people scared will make them stay. So when our smarter opponents are playing that game, we have to counter it. We have to counter it right, respectfully, carefully, because those attachments, even if they don't make sense, it's a big decision we're asking people to make. And Kenny started with one of the ones we hear most often. You know, he talked about Memorial Drive in Calgary, where we're honoring our veterans and the people who fought in the wars, and how it's disrespecting them to have an independence movement. And look, my grandfather fought in World War II, and many of us had relatives or ourselves or veterans and so on. And they were fighting with Canada at that time. But they were fighting for freedom. It just happened to be with Canada. And I will never be ungrateful for what they did. The sacrifices they did. I've had it so much easier than those guys ever did. Their sacrifices made it so I could grow up, have a good life, and have the freedom to stand up in front of you here. We're lacking a lot of freedoms, but we're still can maintain a lot, and it's because of them. Never for a second am I trying to encourage anything that disrespects what those people did for us. And not just veterans, other Canadians who built this country. I appreciate that. But now it's time for change. Borders aren't forever. It's not an end of Canada, it's an evolution. That's what we got to remind people. So we got to remember, when they make that case, though, they seriously might think that we are in this. I want my country back. I don't think we can get it back, but we can save this part of it. And yeah. And it shows our system itself and how difficult it is to try and change it within that. So it is broken, but we've got an opportunity, and the path hasn't been straight. It hasn't been how we wanted it to be. People petitioned, people worked hard, they hit the pavement. As I said, they had coffee thrown at them. I stopped at petitioning stations where they were freezing, blizzard-like conditions. Such dedication. None of that was wasted, not a bit of it. Because what it did was built the network and the base that's campaigning today. People interacted, they had a good time, and they're the ones campaigning now. So that was not wasted. Those signatures are going to get counted. Even if that question doesn't make it on the ballot this year, nothing they did was a waste. So this question's coming this fall, and no, it doesn't matter what we get on this question. We're still going to be in the same circumstance on October 20th that we were on October 19th. But I'll tell you why we got to take it seriously. Because unfortunately, we have to win it, because if we lose it, we're set back. They have an advantage. They can lose as many times as they like. We have to win every one of these fights. This is one that's in front of us. It's a curve in the road. It's a hurdle. But if we say, well, it's unfair, it's not a question I like, it's not going to be binding, so what's the point? Well, then if we come in at 20% on that, do you know how hard it's going to be to get the momentum rolling again to get a real question? So it sucks having to play by the rules and the bends that they throw at us, but still, it just means that we don't give up. We find a way around it, over it, under it, through it, whatever the hell we have to do, and we're going to have more than half of Albertans vote for option 2 on October 19th. And if 60, 70% vote that high, does that mean Premier Smith will suddenly support the independence movement? Who knows? Probably not. But you know what? You've really established things. We've made it undoubted. We're showing the will of Albertans that we're not accepting the status quo. It's putting the country on notice. And it also is an opportunity for some of the people who are still thinking about it to think about it a little longer. Because I don't know if we were ready to win the one yes and no question yet anyways. I mean, our campaign could have been a little stronger, to be honest, getting out of the gates. It might have been an unanticipated blessing in disguise. But the bottom line is, we're Albertans. We're going to keep pushing. We know independence is the only path for us. Whether it's going to be next year or 10 years, let's just keep shooting for next year until we get it. But there's no bending, there's no turning back. Doesn't matter how many setbacks, I don't care how many judges, I don't care how many politicians flip-flop. We don't stop. We keep building this foundation. We maintain this network. We keep spreading. We have those conversations because the appetite's there. Ottawa will do the rest for us. The worst part of it all, unfortunately, is sometimes things got to get a little worse before they get better. And we know that nobody's pocketbooks are going to be getting more full. Nobody's freedoms are going to be more protected. We're one more sneeze away from being locked down over some fake pandemic. Nothing has stopped them from doing it to us again. Tamara Leach is here today. That was recently noted that they're coming after her again. They're going after her on appeal. They want to put her in jail for 7 years. What kind of country is this? We can't even put pedophiles away that long. This is a nation that's broken. When is that vindictive and chasing people around on mischief charges for tens of millions of dollars in our courts? I mean, whether you agree with the protest or not, come on, the punishment is so far and beyond, but that shows a state that is fearful for itself. A state that sees a crime of people standing up to it as being one of the highest crimes it can imagine. That's an authoritarian state that's fighting against democratic rights. You know, we can make the case about equalization in our oil field and things like that, but that's the scariest stuff of all, is our freedoms. It's harder to define. People often don't realize that they don't have them until they've lost them. But once we make that case, this is why we got to do it, guys, because the long-term picture does not look good if we don't. But if we do it right, the long-term picture looks great. Alberta can be one of the strongest, freest nations on the whole planet. We can serve as an example, and it will help the rest of Canada learn how to operate themselves afterwards. We're not doing it to hurt Canada. We're putting on our life preserver. We'll save ourselves, and then we can offer them foreign aid and some tips on how to govern themselves later. So I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I want to leave it on a positive because that's what I love with this. Everybody's so positive. Everybody's smiling. We're working towards something better, and we know it. We're enjoying each other. We're not here to be angry. We're not here to come down on other folks. We're angry about some things, absolutely, but the bottom line is we're working towards something better. And as long as we're doing that and we maintain that Alberta attitude of not waiting for anybody else to do it for us, we're going to get it done. Thank you for coming out, and looking forward to seeing you at future events, especially on October 20th when we've really told the system that we're done with it. Have a good day, guys.